Welcome, my incredible friends. Today, I have a story that will touch your heart, ignite your spirit, and impart powerful lessons about life, success, and the importance of never giving up. This is the tale of a man who was more than just an actor or a comedian, he was a legend. A man whose name is etched in golden letters in the history of cinema, a man who made the world laugh while concealing his own tears. His name is Sir Charles Spencer Chaplin, but we all know him as Charlie Chaplin. No one, absolutely no one, can match his greatness. His work is timeless, his comedy is universal, and his life is a testament to perseverance, creativity, and the power of resilience. Even today, decades after his time, he lives on in our hearts. His films continue to bring joy, his struggles inspire us, and his story, oh, my friends, his story will show you that no matter how tough life gets, you must keep going. This is not just a story, it's a journey filled with pain, rejection, poverty, success, and immortality. Stay with me until the end, because this tale is perfect for your English learning and will motivate you like never before. Are you ready? Let's dive in. Charlie Chaplin was born in the heart of London, England, on April 16, 1889. His parents, Hannah and Charles Chaplin Sr., were performers in the world of music and theater, captivating audiences with their songs. But life had different plans for young Charlie. His father was an alcoholic, a man who drank himself into oblivion, abandoning his family when Charlie was just a little boy. His mother, Hannah, was left to raise Charlie and his older half-brother Sidney, alone. If you think life was kind to them, you are mistaken. They lived in extreme, unbearable poverty. Sometimes, there was no food on the table, and Charlie often went to bed hungry. His mother would sometimes pretend to eat just so her children could have a little more. They moved from one small, dirty room to another, always living in fear of eviction. But Charlie, despite the hardships, was a child, and children, no matter how tough life gets, still find ways to smile. His mother, a talented singer and actress, performed in theaters, hoping to earn a few pennies to feed her children. Charlie loved watching her, sitting backstage, mesmerized, dreaming of one day standing in front of an audience. But fate struck again. One terrible night, while performing, Hannah lost her voice. She tried to sing, but her voice was gone. The audience grew restless, throwing things at her, demanding she leave the stage. Then, something magical happened. A little boy, just 5 years old, walked onto the stage, Charlie. He picked up the microphone, sang, danced, and the crowd roared with laughter. They clapped and cheered. That was the first time Charlie performed in front of an audience, the first time he felt the magic of making people laugh. Deep inside, he knew, this is what I was born to do. But life was cruel. After years of being poor, hungry, and sad, Charlie's mother lost her mind and was sent to a mental hospital. Charlie and Sidney were left alone, with no family, no money, and nowhere to go. They became street children, wandering, begging, and fighting for survival. Imagine this, a small boy, cold and hungry, walking the streets of London, searching through trash cans for food. That was Charlie Chaplin. But did he give up? No. Did he lose hope? Never. He kept going because he had a dream. And my friends, this is where his real journey begins. Charlie was now just a small, hungry boy walking the streets of London. He had no home, no parents to care for him, no money, and no idea where his next meal would come from. He and Sidney were forced to live in workhouses, terrible places where the poor were sent to work in exchange for food and shelter. These places were cold, cruel, and full of suffering. Charlie was just 7 years old when he first entered one of these workhouses. Imagine a child so small, so innocent, being thrown into a world of hard labor and pain. He was separated from Sydney and sent to another workhouse alone. When he finally returned to his mother, she was even sicker than before, her mind slipping away. Sometimes, she didn't even recognize Charlie. He watched helplessly as doctors took her to a mental hospital. He screamed, he cried, but he was powerless. She was gone. Charlie was truly alone, a boy with a dream. But even in his pain, he had something powerful inside him, a dream. Charlie wanted to perform. He wanted to be on stage, just like his mother. He wanted to make people laugh, to entertain them, to bring joy to a world that had been so cruel to him. But where would a poor, homeless boy go? How would he even take the first steps toward the spotlight? Charlie knew he had only one option, to work and fight for his dream. He was still a child, but he began looking for small jobs. He washed dishes, delivered newspapers, and even worked as a toy maker. But no matter what job he did, his heart was always on the stage. Then one day, he saw a group of street performers acting and making people laugh. Something inside him said, "This is it. This is my chance." So he joined them, performing on the streets, dancing, singing, doing small comedy acts. At first, no one cared, people just walked past him. But Charlie didn't give up. He kept performing, kept improving. He watched other comedians, studied their movements, their timing, their expressions, and slowly, people began to notice him. They stopped to watch, they started laughing, and for the first time in his life, Charlie felt something magical. He had the power to make people happy. At the age of 14, Charlie got a huge opportunity. He was hired by a theater group called the 8 Lancashire Lads. It wasn't much, he was just a small part of the group, but it was a start. He worked harder than anyone, learning every move, every trick, practicing day and night. His talent shone, and one day, a theater director saw him and said, "This boy is special. He's different." Charlie was given bigger roles and more responsibilities. At 16, he landed his first major acting role in a play called Sherlock Holmes. No longer just a street performer, he was now acting in real theaters in front of large audiences. People loved him. Directors saw something in him, his expressions, his movements, his ability to evoke emotions without even saying a word. Then, something happened that would change his life forever. In 1910, Hollywood came calling. Charlie was given a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to go to America. He was invited to join a famous comedy troupe called Fred Karno's Company, which performed in the United States. This was huge. America was where dreams came true. Charlie packed his bags and boarded a ship, crossing the ocean toward his future. When he arrived in America, everything felt different. The streets were bigger, the people were louder, the energy was electric, and most importantly, Hollywood was there. Charlie knew one thing: this is where I belong. This is where I will become a star. In 1913, a film company called Keystone Studios noticed Charlie and offered him a small role in a silent film. It wasn't much, but Charlie saw an opportunity. He wanted to create something unique, something unforgettable. So he developed a character, a small man in oversized clothes, a tight coat, a funny little hat, a tiny mustache, and the most famous walk in the world. This character would go on to become one of the most iconic figures in cinema history. At first, people didn't understand the character, but when Charlie performed, when he moved, when he made people laugh without speaking a single word, the world fell in love. Charlie's films began to gain popularity. Producers begged him to make more, and studios offered him huge amounts of money. In just a few years, the poor boy from the streets of London had become the biggest star in the world. By 1917, Charlie Chaplin was not just famous, he was a phenomenon. People stood in long lines just to watch his movies. His face was printed on posters, newspapers, and magazines. He was loved in every country, every language, and every culture. And he was just getting started. But behind all the fame and laughter, Charlie was still the same boy, the boy who once starved on the streets, the boy who cried for his mother, the boy who never gave up. Charlie Chaplin had finally made it. The poor, hungry boy from London was now the biggest movie star in the world. He was not just famous, he was loved. Millions watched his movies, laughed, cried, and cheered. But behind all the success, Charlie knew something: this was just the beginning. Now he wanted more. He didn't just want to act, he wanted to control everything: the stories, the direction, the music, the emotions. He wanted to create movies his way. But Hollywood didn't like that. At that time, actors were controlled by movie studios, which dictated what they should do, how to act, and even what movies to make. But Charlie Chaplin was different. He declared, "No one will control me. I will make my own movies my way." And so, in 1918, he did something that shocked the entire industry. He built his own studio, Chaplin Studios. Now, he was his own boss, free to create whatever he wanted. Then, he made a movie that would become one of the most legendary films of all time. In 1921, Charlie released The Kid. It was not just a comedy, it was his story, the story of a poor man and an orphan boy, a tale of hunger, struggle, and love. It was funny but also emotional. People laughed, people cried, and the whole world fell in love with this movie. At that moment, Charlie realized that movies were not just entertainment, they were powerful. They could change lives, and he was going to use them to change the world. With every movie, Charlie became more powerful. Hollywood had never seen anything like him. While studios paid actors $10 a week, Charlie earned $1 million per movie. He became the richest and most powerful actor in the world. Yet, he never forgot his past. He remembered the days when he had nothing to eat and his mother sitting alone in the mental asylum. Even when he had everything, he never stopped working hard. He would spend months, even years, making just one film, planning every little movement, every small joke, every tiny detail. He didn't just want to make movies, he wanted to make history. Then, he did something no one thought was possible. By the late 1920s, Hollywood was changing again. A new kind of movie had arrived, movies with sound. For the first time, actors could speak on screen. Silent films were fading away, and everyone told Charlie to forget silent movies and start making talking films. But Charlie refused. He said, "Movies don't need words, emotions are more powerful than words." In 1931, when the world thought silent movies were dead, he released City Lights. It was one of the most emotional, beautiful films ever made. Even without dialogue, people cried watching it. The final scene, where Charlie's character looks at a blind girl, is one of the greatest moments in film history. Even today, people call it the greatest silent movie ever made. With this film, Charlie proved that emotions speak louder than words. By the late 1930s, the world was changing again. Adolf Hitler was rising to power in Germany, spreading hate, war, and fear. Charlie noticed something strange. Hitler had the same mustache as him. People began comparing them, so Charlie made a decision: he would use his comedy to fight against Hitler. In 1940, he created The Great Dictator, his first talking movie. It was not just a comedy, it was a message to the world. In the final scene, Charlie delivers one of the most powerful speeches in history: "We think too much and feel too little. More than machinery, we need humanity. Let us fight for a world of reason. Let us fight for freedom." The world listened. The speech became legendary, and even today, it is watched by millions. It proved that Charlie was not just a comedian, he was a fighter, a voice for the people, but Hollywood didn't like this. Charlie was too powerful, too independent, and some people didn't appreciate his political messages. They turned against him, accusing him of things he never did, spreading lies about him. Finally, in 1952, they forced him to leave America. Charlie was kicked out of the country he had helped build. Heartbroken, he moved to Switzerland, stopped making movies, and lived a quiet life with his family. But the world never forgot him. Then, in 1972, after 20 years, Hollywood realized their mistake. They invited Charlie back to the Oscars, giving him a standing ovation, the longest in history, 12 minutes of applause. Even after everything, Charlie had won because he was not just an actor, he was a legend. Charlie's life teaches us one important lesson: never give up. No matter how hard life gets, no matter how poor you are, no matter how many people try to stop you, if you have a dream, fight for it. Charlie was a homeless boy with nothing, yet he became the most loved man in the world. But behind his fame, success, and laughter, his personal life was filled with struggles. People betrayed him, governments turned against him, and even after his death, something shocking happened. Now, let's reveal his complicated love life, his biggest betrayals, his final years in Switzerland, and the astonishing story of how his dead body was stolen from his grave. Charlie Chaplin was a genius, but in love, he was complicated. He fell in love easily, and many of his relationships ended in pain and drama. Charlie was married 4 times, and his first 3 marriages failed. Each time, the woman left him, took his money, and sometimes even took him to court. People began to say, Charlie can make the whole world happy, but he cannot find happiness in love. But then, something changed. In 1943, when Charlie was 54 years old, he met Una O'Neill, who was just 18. People said she was too young for him, but Charlie didn't care. For the first time, he had found true love. Una became the most important person in his life. She stood by him when the world turned against him. She was his best friend, his love, his everything. They stayed together until the very end, and despite the age gap, they were truly happy. They had 8 children together. For the first time, Charlie had a real family. Charlie spent his final years in a beautiful house in Switzerland. It was peaceful and quiet. He spent time writing, reading, and playing with his kids. He would walk in his garden, reflecting on his past, his struggles, and his journey. Sometimes, he would watch his old movies and laugh. Even though he was away from Hollywood, he was not forgotten. People all over the world still loved him. On December 25, 1977, the world woke up to sad news. Charlie Chaplin had died in his sleep at the age of 88. It was Christmas Day. The world went silent. A man who had made billions laugh was gone. People cried. Every country paid tribute to him. Newspapers wrote, "The world has lost its greatest comedian." But then, something shocking happened. 3 months after his death, something unbelievable occurred. One night, a group of thieves broke into his grave, dug up his coffin, and stole Charlie Chaplin's body. Yes, his dead body was kidnapped. The thieves demanded $600,000 from his family. But Una, his wife, refused. She said Charlie would have laughed at this situation. For weeks, the world was in shock. Where was Charlie Chaplin's body? After a massive police investigation, the thieves were finally caught. They were 2 poor men from Eastern Europe who had stolen the body to escape poverty. Finally, Charlie's body was returned to his family, and this time, they buried him in a stronger, cement-covered grave so that no one could ever steal him again. Even though Charlie Chaplin died in 1977, he is still alive. Every time we laugh, he is there. Every time we watch a great movie, he is there. He taught us that life is not just about money, success, or power. Life is about laughter, love, and never giving up. Even when he had nothing, he never lost hope. Even when the world turned against him, he never stopped fighting. Charlie Chaplin is not just a name, he is an emotion. He is the greatest comedian in history, and his story will inspire generations to come. So, if he can do it, so can you. Dream big, work hard, and one day, your story will inspire the world. Charlie Chaplin's story may be over, but his lessons, his movies, and his spirit will live on forever. If you love this story, share it with the world, because Charlie's message must never be forgotten. And always remember his most famous words: a day without laughter is a day wasted. Thank you, Charlie. We will never forget you.